Hello, my name is Kyle Wood, and with me is,
Dale Sidebottom. Okay, Kyle.
and this is Lead Your Tribe. Welcome.
Thank you, mate. How are you today, buddy?
Good, good. So today we're talking about something that comes up often, especially when trying to lead a tribe, whether that's your local community group or an online tribe, and that is imposter syndrome.
Self doubt, imposter syndrome. How do we overcome it? It's massive.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, so imposter syndrome is that feeling you get when maybe you're about to share something or create something or put something out there, and you're just like, this little voice in your head goes, who am I to do this? Like, do I have enough credentials? Are people going to think it's silly? Yeah, especially around that, like, am I qualified enough to be giving this advice?
And it's a really funny one because I know we're talking just before coming on about the topic we're going to talk about today, and we both said that we battle with this, and we still battle with it today. So I think this is something that you never completely come over. Like get rid of. I feel it's always
Mm,
going to be there, but
yeah,
there's probably ways to build your confidence, your self esteem, and your belief in yourself
yeah,
so that it doesn't hamper you actually creating or leading or doing what you need to do.
yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think there's always a part of you, no matter how much success you see, um, unless maybe you're a full blown narcissist. But no matter how much success you see, there'll always be that part of you that still identifies with like an older version of yourself. So even if you've like, say you're in academia and you've gone through and you've written books and popular and stuff like that, and then you end up at this like conference or something with a bunch of celebrities and actors and stuff like that, even though you're very well defined over in this other area, like an expert in your area, now suddenly you're in with people who are experts at other things, and it comes up again. So anytime basically we try something new, we're going to feel, especially publicly, maybe not in your home with no one around, but anytime we try something new publicly, little old imposter syndrome sticks its head up. Sometimes,
Yeah,
in
it
Australia,
does. It
people,
does big time.
yeah, people refer to sort of similar thing as like tall poppy syndrome. We hear that a lot in Australia, which is like
Yeah.
being different, standing out, that people are going to tear you down, which is funny because as Australians, I feel like we love an underdog. We love, we absolutely love it. So we love it when that person's found a bit of success, but sometimes we are a bit harsh on people who are trying things new for the first time.
Yeah, we definitely are. And I think exactly what you said before, mate, that it comes down to the old saying, don't be the smartest in the room. You want to be in a room where you're not the smartest because then you are learning. And
Mm,
I feel it's exactly the same what you're saying, that you always want to be constantly challenging yourself. So every time you challenge yourself, that self doubt, the imposter syndrome will come back.
hmm
And it's one of, I think it's like we spoke about last week with like getting your brand noticed or getting yourself out there, that it's all about just putting in the work and just backing yourself. And for me, the biggest one is celebrating your small wins. And that means anything you do, don't just brush it aside. Be proud of it. If that's your first social media post, or if that's your first podcast, or your first webinar, or first live event, whatever that is, be proud of yourself and celebrate that, because each time you celebrate that, it hits a chord within you, that gratifying, that feeling that, yes, I've achieved something, I've done something, and be proud of that. And then trying to go better, move on, do something else. But I always used to find, I could speak about this myself, that I never used to allow myself to celebrate these small wins, Kyle, because I'm like, no, there's more to do. There's more to do. And after a while, you just keep beating your head against the wall because you're not actually winning anything because you're not allowing yourself to. So I think
hmm
the big thing there is give yourself permission to be proud of your achievements. And that's not, having a party or something every time you do something, but it's just be proud of it, acknowledge it and soak it in, because the small wins allow you to slowly push that imposter syndrome to the side, I've felt.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Focusing, because I guess imposter syndrome is really like focusing on what you perceive that you lack, whereas this is like focusing on what you do well.
Yeah.
Something else you said there about that imposter syndrome comes up every time you try something new or you challenge yourself in a new way. So in a way, could it almost be used as like a guidepost to be like, oh, I'm feeling like that imposter syndrome. I'm feeling that like I'm out of my depth here. But actually be like, when you feel that, hey, wait, maybe this means I'm on the right track. Maybe this means, I am pushing my comfort zone and seeing it as a positive, even though it doesn't feel that good, but see it as a positive rather than, like jumping back in the bed and pulling the doona over your head and nobody look at me.
I'm hiding.
Or
I think like you just said there, that like you just said, that I feel the imposter syndrome comes in the lead up to whatever you're doing. And that's probably the worst part, where you want to jump back in bed. You want to pull the doona over your head. You've got
yeah,
these negative self-talk going on in your head. Once you start or you get on stage or whatever you're doing, and for me, that's what it is. Normally every live event or speaking gig I do, even webinars now, like, because we're all virtual, that every time I get nervous and I doubt myself and I'm like, why should I be speaking to these people? But you just need to push through that. And then once you start, that all goes and you get in flow and you really love it. I don't know. Do you have the same thing, that it's normally the lead up or the anticipation that's where I really doubt myself?
yeah, 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 100%.
I've
It's
hit a
it's
chord there.
that. Yeah, it's. I was saying to this to you beforehand. I was like, this would be good because I feel like I'm going through a bit of this at the moment myself. It's like flaring up for me. Uh, I think partly because, and maybe this will resonate with other introverts listening to this, that I am kind of a private person, um, and I don't see my life as being I forget that my life is actually pretty different to like 90% of people out there, just the way I live my life. So I want to share that as an inspiration to people and just to invite people to be like, hey, here's like a different way to do things. But like I still have my struggles and things like that. So for me, let's just dive into what I'm facing right now. Maybe this is helpful for other people. So for me, I'm feeling
Cool.
like
No, let's do it.
I'm yeah, it's like because I still struggle, because I still face problems, which, realistically everyone does, no matter what their level of success is. Everyone faces problems and setbacks and stuff like that. But that for me is the thing that comes up, that I'm like, who am I to help others sort of live a life that's more in tune and aligned with who they are, when there are still times that I fall out of that alignment, or I feel dissatisfaction with my life, or just all these normal things that come up. But yeah, so that's the specific one that I'm working through at the moment.
I think what you just said there, though, that you're not perfect either. Nobody's perfect, and you're not going to
Yeah,
always, like, you're not always going to be dominating. And just because sometimes you feel down, that's I think that's good. And like you just said, sharing that then, Kyle, I think that's what people can relate to. They can resonate with that, and I think that's important to share that as well. That with your brand, like we spoke about last week, it's not always. You're not always this amazing dad, business owner, happy, dominating the world. That
yeah,
there are darker times. There are times where you struggle, but that's what people can relate to. So, like
mm,
you sharing that, then that's people need to hear that, and I think that's not being an imposter or being down and sharing, or not feeling on top of the world. That's you as a person, and we all go through it. Particularly in 2020, there will be probably more downs than ups at the moment. And if you just block that aside and don't share that with anyone, people can't really relate to you either. And I know that's sort of
mm,
going back to being yourself and who you are, but being an imposter doesn't mean you're always like down or up or whatever. I think that's important, like what you just said there, to acknowledge it, and that you're trying to do something. And sometimes you may not feel that, but I don't know, 80/20 rule we are talking about before as well, that 80% of the time you are that person, you are dominating, but 20% of the time, you may not feel good. And that's when you have that imposter syndrome. So I think that's
mm,
normal.
mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Does that hit home? Is it sort of
Yeah. Yeah.
it does?
Um, yeah. So for me, I think a lot of where the imposter comes from is then comparing myself to what other people are putting out online, because you don't see that. Not everyone shares that 20%, do they? So you only see the other part of what they're sharing. And when it comes to boot camp ideas and workouts and stuff like that, I'm in my element. So having one of the oldest websites and things like that, like I this sounds really arrogant, but I probably, in some ways cause imposter syndrome
No.
for other people because they look at my business and go, oh, that's so successful and stuff like that. So yeah, I think doing something new, even like this podcast, doing it with you has really helped because the energy we both bring to this sort of sweeps us both along and keeps us going and creating and encouraging and supporting each other. So as I say that, um, some of the things I'm trying out is accountability. So like saying out loud, this is something I want to do, um, and here I'm going to do it. And I think that sometimes just putting it out there drops some of that pressure.
Helps.
And people will stand up usually. Like you get the odd person who'll stand up and support you. Comparison, avoiding comparison. So like not spending a lot of time on social media or going down rabbit holes and just sticking to like two or three voices online that I really respect and really resonate with me.
Yep.
And there was something else before we jumped on the call that we were talking about that.
Well,
Um,
I think like what you just mentioned before that. Sorry to cut you off, but one of the things that I've always tried to do, and sometimes it's hard to gain the courage to send the email, but I remember emailing you and I said, "Hey, I love everything you did because, like you said, you had the best website. You were first to it, and you were dominating." And I'm like, I reckon I could add value in a different way, and so I reached out, and that's how the podcast started. And my big thing has always been, and sometimes I find emails a really easy way to do this, Kyle, because you're not grabbing the phone. You're not. It's pretty simple to send an email, and I've always been big on this. That if I want to get into an area, I want to improve, I want to reach out to the best in that area, and I want to learn from them. It's not using them. I want to learn from them, and hopefully, I can add value to what they're already doing. And I know, like you just said, we've been able to do that together. That wouldn't have started though if I didn't email out to you and say, "Hey, Kyle, would you be interested in doing a podcast with me?" And
yeah,
like, and that's what it is. The imposter was like, Kyle is up here. I know we've got a video. You can see my hand. I'm down here. I want to be able to not leverage what Kyle's doing, but complement each other and hopefully build my brand, improve and learn off Kyle. And I've been doing that since reaching out to you. One of the first people I reached out to, but I've been doing that ever since. And I know
mm,
recently I'm writing a book, and one of the big things in my field, Kyle, particularly with keynoting and speaking, that a lot of time the only keynote speakers are academics or people that have got a doctorate or a master's or something like that. I don't have
yeah,
that, and I've always found
yeah,
that really a lot of people question that, like, why is Dale keynoting? And at the end, they everyone else will say, well, he's keynoting because he was able to deliver that. Can you bring that energy or that passion? And a lot of time they can't. But for me, it's always been questioning myself. Well, I don't have these credentials. What gives
mm,
me the right to be doing this? So
yeah,
I've reached out and over the years worked with so many doctors, academics, professors, and to learn with them and learn from their studies and what they do. And it's been beautiful through this book writing process that I've reached out to three really close friends now, two in the UK and one in Queensland, and said, hey, would you like to share some of the research and studies that you've done in my book? And they've come back to me and say, Dale, we're so honored. Thank you so much. And I think it just shows that what can happen when you put yourself out there to start, reach out to people that you admire and want to learn from, but then also add value to them and share your passion and everything you're doing, that you really surprise yourself. And that's what I've done now. That these three are my friends, and I call them my friend, like I call you my friend, Kyle. And they've been honored, and they're thanking me for being part of my book. And it
yeah,
blows me away. And I think about it, I'm like, that doesn't really make sense. But then I need to say, well, I've actually offered them something, and I've offered them something along the way for them to build that trust, and want to be a part of things I'm doing. So I know that was a bit of a rant and went everywhere, but I think that's the biggest thing that you can. We're talking about building a tribe of followers. I'm huge on building a tribe of friends and connections that help you
Yeah.
grow with them. And
Yeah.
I know that we have done that. And think of some of the projects that we've done just from initial conversation of a podcast. There's been so many different ideas and things that we've challenged each other, and we've grown together. And I've done that in my other areas as well. And I know you have too, Kyle. And for me, that's been the biggest thing, that to block out the imposter syndrome, team up with other people that have probably already got a voice or that you respect, and compliment them. And what ends up happening, you grow together. And that's been one really big way now that I know recently I headlined the New Zealand Education online virtual summit, and I was the first speaker. And I know there was 3 or 4 academics that really kicked up a stink because they're like, "Who is this guy? He's not even New Zealand. He's Australian. What gives him the right to do it?" And you know what? I didn't even care. Whereas 2 years ago, I would have been so nervous and I would have been judging myself and things like that, Kyle. But I know that I've done the research, I've got the work on the board, and that I'm really good at what I do. So I've been able to block that out. But it doesn't just come naturally. And you always still get people saying, what gives you the right to do that? And that's fine. They can say that, but back yourself in. That self-doubt,
Yeah.
just dominate it. And I've been able to do that by building a connection of friends, which is my tribe. And that makes me feel that's how I've overcome it, if that makes sense.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I love that. So deconstructing that, it's not just, like you said, the maybe tribe that you want to lead, but it's also building like that tribe of a tribe of mentors and
Yeah, like Tim
supporters.
Ferriss.
And peers as well that are going to help lift you up, and that you can tap into each other's individual strengths, to learn more about, to give yourself the confidence. And then it's like you alluded to, then you start seeing yourself at that level. So that's a good way, rather than, I mean, there is like the fake it till you make it approach, which needs,
we all have to do that a bit, but
this is a way, maybe if like you've got an idea and you're not like, you're getting imposter syndrome thinking about bringing it out into the world, maybe for you, taking some time to start off with and reach out to some people you respect in the field or in similar fields that you feel like can help you is a great starting point. Because then you see journalists do this all the time. Like journalists, they'll reach out to an expert and then use that person's wording to back their own point. So that's a great way if you're like, hey, and then that's a way to start building relationships. And like you said, you're giving that person exposure, which is something, they'll probably be grateful for too. And it starts a conversation, especially if you're an academic who spent your life working on something or researching something. Having someone else be interested in that thing that you are interested in, not in a way where you're coming in to steal all their stuff, but when you're just like genuinely curious, that's really nice for them. That helps them with their imposter syndrome because they're like, oh wow, someone actually cares about this stuff that I spend all this time thinking about.
Yeah, and not only that, it gives them a new audience as well and a new voice. And that's I know I speak about my other podcast a lot, but that's how I've essentially been able to connect with all these people is I'll invite them on my podcast because I want to learn from them and share it. And then after that, I'll say, would you like to present on my platform as a webinar? And after you have those conversations and you share with these people and I just feel that you make that relationship pretty quick. And then like they share it with their friends and their connections, and it just slowly builds your brand as well. But not only that, you get to, you get to know them and share, and they build that trust. And if they like what you're doing, and then it opens the door for so many more possibilities. So I know there's all different ways, but the thing I would say here is I haven't just reached out to these people and like, wanted to leech off them. And I suppose that's the big thing.
Yeah.
You don't want to, there's a fine line, Nicole, between being a pest and adding value, I feel. And that's something that you need to think, what is the value you can add someone? So if you're reaching out to somebody that you want to connect with to help overcome your imposter syndrome or build your credibility or your knowledge, what can you offer them? What are you going to
Yeah.
help them with? Because if it's a one-way street, it'll never work. And
Yeah.
fair enough. Like these people I've reached out to have got big names. They've done huge research. They've written all these books. Like they don't want to be burdened by some battler in Australia. They're like, do you know what I mean? Like, what can I offer to them to help them out? And that's what you need to be
Yeah.
thinking as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't just email them and say,
Never.
let me know if I can help you with anything. Like, try and be
Yuck.
specific. Yeah.
Like those
Yeah. Be
LinkedIn people.
specific.
Oh, it's yuck. Don't do that. Don't do those creepy messages.
Yeah. So
Oh.
do your research on the person. Think, oh, here's an area that I can help them with. Whether that's you have a way of giving them exposure, or if you're just getting started out, it's like, oh, here's something on your website. Even like, yeah, saying, hey, here's something on your website I noticed was like broken, and he's had, just pointing that out to them. That can be great.
Well,
And if you
that's
don't,
how you do it though. Like that's your expertise. Like
yeah,
that would be a great lead in for you. Do you know what I mean? Like I noticed this of you. I'd be happy to help. Like, and
yeah,
like, and that's what it is. I think that's a good point. Oh, what is your expertise as a listener now? What is the one thing that you dominate at? Because
mm,
that's the thing that you could maybe add value to somebody else, isn't it? Like you just said.
hmm yeah, yeah. Uh, I have, I have as a trainer once. I offered to write a program for a guy, but he never took me up on it. I think if you got the timing right on that, he did mention that he was like, yeah, I think I need to do some more exercise, and so I kind of like jumped on that and was like, hey, I'm a trainer, I'd be happy to like help you, da da da. And he was like, maybe later, and maybe I could have like followed up again on that with something else, but uh, yeah, that's I guess the other thing we should mention is that it doesn't always work out. Um,
No,
it's
it
not always
doesn't.
going to be the right time for the other
It definitely
person.
doesn't.
Yeah, so it's about just putting. Yeah, don't feel like, oh, because this person, it wasn't a good time for them, or they weren't interested in what you had to offer. Don't let that reinforce that imposter thing. There might be, you might get a bit of a hot flush and a bit of a, oh, I shouldn't have done that, or something like that. But I think that's then when you turn around and try with someone else. Don't put all your eggs in one basket with one person, with one hero that you build
Yeah.
up on a pedestal. Instead, find a few people and find people who are maybe just that level above you. So if you're just getting started,
Yeah.
you might find someone who's been doing it for like 2 or 3 years. Not reach out straight away to the person who's got 2 decades under their belt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The pro.
yeah,
I think that is a really good point as well. That everyone's got different circumstances when you reach out to them or whatever you do, and don't
yeah,
think that as a negative if they knock you back like that. It's not as a negative. You don't know what everyone's going through or how busy they are or
yeah,
what they've got on in
exactly.
their life. If these
Yeah.
people have been doing that job for a long time, they've probably got a lot of projects. And think about the tribe they've built. Like, do you know what I mean? They it might just not be the right time. So don't let that deflate your balloon. Keep the helium in it and keep flying. I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It can. Yeah. So back to imposter syndrome. So
Yeah, we went off. Sorry, I went
we've
off a little bit
no,
there on
no,
you,
that's
mate.
good. But we've kind of covered that this idea of one way that you can help, yeah, deflate the balloon of imposter syndrome is to surround yourself with peers and maybe people who are like just a level above you, who are out there doing stuff, researching stuff, putting stuff out there, because it helps make it feel more normal for you. But if all your friends, all the people you spend most of your time with are like, we're just going to go, we're talking about people who run their own business here. If they're all employed, if they're all, working for the weekend, then it's going to be really hard for you to find that support to put yourself out there, because that might be a really foreign concept to them. They're like, why would you want to, put the spotlight on you? Why would you? And you're not going to get that support there. So, yeah, really important to have people in your life that are putting themselves out there, that are know what imposter syndrome is the minute you say it, and um, can empathize with you, and then also support you and encourage you and motivate you.
Yeah,
I think
and
that's
that is so true. That I think it's a really good one, mate. That just because you've got friends you grew up with and you may socialize as like a couple on the weekend or whatever, they might not be the people you talk really deep about business with or other things like that. Do you know what I mean? I think you need to have different people you call friends, and those friends are different levels, like that offer different things to your life. And if that's people that will help you with your business, with other things like that, then they're great. Then you've got your friends that you may not talk about that with because they've got not the same interests. And I think that's important that, like when we said researching people to connect with, you're not going to reach out to the wrong people and try and connect about something different. And I think it's the same with your friends. Different friends will offer different qualities into your life. Just, I think, don't go mixing and expecting that support or that drive from people that don't have that drive, because they're happy with how they are and they're not on the same journey that you are in your life. So don't try and force them, and don't try and preach everything you're doing, because you end up just really getting upset and you probably upset them as well. So I think that's important, Kyle. That's a really good point,
mm,
mate.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Have different friends for different things you need in your life. Don't make every friend be everything to you.
Yeah, unless they're amazing, unless you've got this
Yeah,
amazing person that can do it
yeah.
all. But I don't know many people out there can do that. So maybe let us know if you do have one of those people.
So back to imposter syndrome. I think first thing is to identify it, give it its name, imposter syndrome. That feeling of like, who am I to put this out there? Who am I to like lead these people? Who am I to share what people should do? Um, then try to avoid comparison. Try to avoid like the negative sort of what you see other people doing or negative things around that, and instead focus on like what you do well. That will also help you identify what you can offer other people to start reaching out to peers and other people, who are growing their business at the same time as you. There's no reason, back in the days of blogs, like 10 years ago, it was cool because, you go to someone's blog and you get a really good feeling of what they're about. And, you'd email them and be like, hey, I've got this blog as well. Like, can we, like, let's chat, let's talk about this stuff, or can I write a guest post for you or something like that? And now today with social media, it's a bit different because there is kind of less depth to it in a way. So it's really finding people on social media that you can still resonate with and you look up to. And then go from there, and then recognize that it'll keep coming up. So you'll keep going through this process.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
And I
and
think exactly what you said. They're great points, and like you just said, mate, we still go through this every week. Do you know, there won't be a week go by that I don't doubt something about myself. And like you were saying today, like sharing your story, that everybody's got self doubt. Everybody's got that imposter syndrome. It's just finding ways
yeah,
to minimize it, I suppose.
yeah, yeah. And one last tip that I find helpful is sometimes when I announce things very publicly is when I really struggle with that. But sometimes I can find a way to kind of announce it privately, either by like direct email. Like if I'm running a new program, I'll just like email some people directly who I think will be a good fit for it. So rather than like splashing it all over social media and talking about it and stuff like that,
Yep.
um, I'll keep it private until, I've had some experience doing that thing, and then I feel more comfortable publishing it online. So that could be a good way to start too. Like if there's something you like, a new idea that you're really excited about that you want to put out into the world, maybe instead of putting it out publicly, you just reach out to a few people who you feel a bit more comfortable with and say, hey, would you be willing to kind of like test this thing out with me? And then it feels less imposter syndrome because you're picking those particular people. You aren't worried about some random like keyboard warrior like typing a bunch of stuff to you, and then you'll build up some experience in this thing that you want to do, and that will also make you feel more comfortable with then turning around and saying, hey, this is what I do now. Anyone who wants this can come to me and get it.
Love it. I think that's a great way to finish that episode off, mate. So right here, right now.
Can you do a little pause
did
there?
You want to share, mate?
So that, because I always have so much when I'm editing this thing, because you do the right here, right now really quickly, and then it's like, oh, and I'm like, I have to like get right in there to like cut the thing in there because I put a little like music note in there just to like break up the next segment. Yeah.
Sorry, mate. I'll do that from now on. Sorry, buddy. I do get a little bit excited. I like singing. I've been told horrific voice.
Some karaoke.
So I'll yes, that's right. I'll kick off here, mate. So
okay.
Mine was in Melbourne this weekend. Weekend just gone. It was nice and sunny, and after I don't know how long we've been on stage 4 lockdown, but I think it's been 5 or 6 months this year, and it's been pretty tough. So to have some nice sunshine, and I was able to go out Sunday morning on our stand-up paddle boards in the bay, go for a real nice paddle, and I just think that sometimes the simple things in life are amazing. And one thing I've been speaking to a lot of people about is that this year we haven't had a break. You know, there's been no holidays. I normally go away on multiple holidays and work trips, and I need that for my recharging and break and everything like that. And not to have that's been really tough. So I think just to get out in the bay on Sunday, it really made me feel like I was doing something different because I hadn't done it for so long, and it just really refreshed. So if you are in a similar situation, I feel that find something you do love doing, and sometimes the things you used to take for granted will really just realign you. And I know it was something that really helped me out. So that was something I wanted to share, Kyle.
Yeah, nature's a big thing. That's been one of my big things the last couple of weeks, is getting back to doing like these big walks with my daughter in the afternoon. And we just go out and do a big meandering wander somewhere. I mean, she's 2, so she's pretty slow. So we're not moving anywhere very fast, but it's good. Like, it forces me to slow down and really like appreciate nature. And I've been finding that really helpful. Yeah.
Cool.
So me, I would like to share something along the topic of today's podcast. Which is, I recently changed my Instagram handle from Bootcamp Ideas to my own name. So it's now at Kyle Wood _
I didn't even know
BCI.
That. I tried to find you the other day. Sorry.
You know why? Because I've been having imposter syndrome and I haven't posted anything yet. That's why. So you haven't seen the new handle pop up.
Really?
I've been posting some stories, but that's about it. So I would like to invite you to follow me on this like sort of new journey. Because we're doing this podcast here and Bootcamp Ideas have got Bootcraft, all that different stuff, I thought it'd make more sense to sort of, these are all the projects I work on, so it make more sense to have things under my name. So, but I've been very nervous about some of the things I want to publish, which is just about like day-to-day, ways that I've like set up my life so that I can like be more productive, so that I can have lots of time to spend with family and friends and things like that. And so I'm going to commit to start posting.
Good man.
But I would love it if you came over and followed and found me. Just look up Kyle Wood, and it's at Kyle Wood _BCI, like standing for Bootcamp Ideas. And start seeing what I post. And then I know it's like, if a bunch of people listening on here come over, then again, this is like that accountability, which is going to overcome the inertia of not wanting to start, and it will be like, okay, I better start posting some stuff. Yeah. Good,
mate. I like it.
Yeah.
And at least I know where I can find you now. I think a couple of last week I released like our new podcast image, and I was trying to find you, and I'm like, I swear it was boot camp ideas, and I couldn't find you. I was like, where's he gone?
Yeah.
It was weird. So thank you. Now that's clarified a few things for me as well.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It's changed. And yeah, I'd like to invite listeners as well, if you're also feeling that kind of imposter syndrome, to join me in starting to put stuff out there yourself that you've been nervous about putting out there, and we'll kind of do it together. Yeah.
Beauty. Love it, mate. That was a great episode. Well, I look forward to seeing Kyle Wood _BCI start posting. That'll be fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to rock it. People aren't going to know what's hit them. Pictures
Beautiful.
of. All right.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, that's another episode done. Next week, we've got our first listener question on the new podcast. So we're looking forward to diving into that, and it's got to do with success. So please join us again for that. And if you have a question, we'd love to answer it, even if it's just at the end of the episode. So no questions too small or too big. Head to leadyourtribe.co. Scroll down, find the video of me trying to talk to you, have a listen, and you can just reply right then and there. It takes you about 60 seconds.
Perfect.
Did I explain that well?
All right, well, look forward to it. You did, mate. Did it really well. Look forward to it. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks, Kyle. Champion.
All right. See you next week.